These and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Well, good afternoon. It's 6 minutes past 12 Central African time. Coming up in this hour, a number of South Africans who arrived in the United States as refugees are now reportedly heading back home. And the escalating crisis in the Middle East continues to raise concerns about regional stability, international law, and the prospects for peace. Stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV audio bouquet. Channel 802.
On today's hashtag Africa Update asks, a number of South Africans who arrived in the United States as refugees are now reportedly heading back home. Our question today is, many people think the grass is greener on the other side. What would you do if you were able to go to another country? Would you? And what country would you choose to go to? You can share your thoughts on Channel Africa's social media platforms at Channel Africa 1 on X and Instagram, and at Channel Africa on Facebook, or send us your comments and voice notes to our WhatsApp number +27 83 288 6684.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update, only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Africa is demanding better access to climate finance as the continent receives less than 10% of global adaptation funding, despite being heavily impacted by climate change. In light of this, Channel Africa, together with the Wits Business School, will host the Africa Matters Summit on the 25th of March in Johannesburg, South Africa. This year's theme is Climate Change, Financing Africa's Recovery. One of the panelists at the summit, Dr. Shingarai Mutanga, a research director at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, elaborates on the issue of climate change and finance.
Climate impacts, it's now our daily experiences with the harsh climate extremes that we are experiencing today. You speak of your floods, you speak of your heat waves, the fires that are sparked by the heat waves that we have, the droughts, the extreme, and the frequency of these climate events as of late has gone so up. And it's vivid in today's this world now, across the world, the impacts and the repercussions of climate change to the world today. And you are right to say that Africa is among the most severely affected regions from the ramifications of climate change, partly because we do not have sufficient resources to support the adaptation mechanisms needed in order to adapt to the unpredictable climate ramifications that we have in the world today. issue of climate risk evidence and data infrastructure, which is a critical pillar for us to respond to climate change. And for this, we do have global world models that are used actually in climate science to predict or forecast, but there is need to downscale these to the regional context so that we better understand the impacts of climate change to the world. And part of the work that we do is this evidence building through climate risk analysis, using, of course, Earth observation data, where we integrate satellite integrated data, as well as climate models in order to support policy as well as investment decisions. And we do provide the technological innovation, particularly using artificial intelligence-driven climate forecasting and early warning system to support the climate risk mapping. And under this banner, I would say the key message there is better data, predictive analytics to reduce investment risk, and making climate projects more attractive, particularly to financiers, because there's a skewed distribution of resources towards or uptake of climate finance within the world today.
And that was Dr. Shingarai Mutanga, a research director at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
South Africa's Department of International Relations has summoned U.S. Ambassador Leo Brent Bozell III for a formal démarche after he labelled the Kill the Boer chant hate speech at a recent event in Hermanus in South Africa's Western Cape province. Durko says the public comments breached diplomatic protocol and disrespected South African sovereignty. The ambassador later clarified on X that his personal view aligns with many South Africans who see the song as harmful. Professor Isaac Kambule, director of the Africa Centre for Evidence at the University of Johannesburg, weighs in on Bozell's comments.
I think it was an expected reaction, and given the tension that has been occurring between South Africa and the U.S. But most importantly, I think the remarks that were mentioned by the U.S. ambassador to South Africa were quite uncalled for, and at the same time, we must also align them with the idea of undermining South Africa's sovereignty and as well as not respecting the country's judiciary, of which happens to be one of the most respected judiciaries across the globe. So I think that's where the particular issue was, that he was being anti-diplomatic, and at the same time, it was also the issue that you cannot come to interfere in South Africa's internal affairs. Based on Bozell's a reaction and response, again, being able to apologize in terms of what he was saying, basically indicates that he knows that he trampled over certain diplomatic lines. And from what we know as things stand, there's unlikely to be any pushback from the U.S. because on their side, they also understand as well that South Africa is a constitutional democracy, and despite the major issues that we're facing between the two nations, there's nothing that is really going to happen, because this is basically a typical example of what happens when ambassadors tend to forget about their role, and his opinion, again, is problematic, because once you assume the position of being an ambassador to a particular country, whatever you say basically represents the views of the particular country that you emerge from. And the host country has all the right to take any decision that they need to take, because we recall that even with former Ambassador Rasool, it was for such issues that, again, he was pronounced as a person of non-grata in the U.S.
And that was Professor Isaac Kambule, director of the Africa Centre for Evidence at the University of Johannesburg.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Hello.
Hi, a number of South Africans who arrived in the United States as refugees are now reportedly heading back home. Many had fled in 2025, citing government-backed racial discrimination and persecution targeting the Afrikaner community. President Trump granted them priority refugee status in February last year. AfriForum says the underlying problems that drove them away still have not been resolved by the South African government. And for more, we now joined on the line by Ernest van Zyl, Head of Public Relations at AfriForum. Good afternoon, Mr. van Zyl.
Good evening. Can you hear and see me?
I can, thank you. So before we get into the crux of our conversation, can I have your reaction to the US ambassador being demarched?
Sure. So from AfriForum's side, there's nothing wrong with taking a moral stance saying that you still consider a chant about murdering farmers and the white minority as hate speech, even though a court has deemed it not to be. A court can be wrong, and you're allowed to have an opinion on the fact that the court can be wrong about such matters, I think. And from AfriForum's side, it's very clear that a chant calling for the murder of farmers is a very clear-cut example of hate speech.
So now, do you think that the ambassador's comments constitute an overstep of diplomatic boundaries?
No, I don't think speaking his mind is an overstepping of diplomatic boundaries. I think the Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, calling him an unrepentant racist last night very late on social media is rather the undiplomatic thing to say, rather than what the ambassador himself said.
So US President Donald Trump previously claimed that white South Africans were facing persecution. How does AfriForum respond to reports that many white expatriates are now choosing to return to South Africa?
Well, there doesn't seem to be any evidence that white expats are returning in greater numbers than is the case in any other year. In every year, there's thousands of South Africans of all races either immigrating away from South Africa or immigrating back. Every year, that's in the thousands. So I've not seen any indication that that's happening at an abnormal rate. There has been a sensational story that's been twisted regarding refugees coming back, but then if you actually read the article, you see it's based on the anecdote or testimony of one or two people, one of them that had left in 2003, the other person that left 20 years ago has no connection to that story. So I think it's an absolute just non-event that's being blown out of proportion for sensationalism by some and also by some activists to make a political point.
Now, what are some of the primary concerns allegedly driving Afrikaner refugees to return to South Africa, even despite initial claims of persecution and discrimination?
Well, I don't think there's anything driving them back to South Africa because they are not. There's no indication or evidence existing that Afrikaner refugees are returning to South Africa. So I can't really answer the question if no evidence exists that they're coming back.
So now AfriForum maintains that the underlying issues haven't been addressed by the South African government. Now, what specific changes or reforms are needed to alleviate Afrikaner concerns?
Oh, it's actually quite simple. On the one side, the president and the South African government need to condemn chants and hate speech calling for the murder of people based on their identity. I think that's a very easy win. And also the ending discriminatory laws that mandate businesses to hire based on race, excluding people from school bursaries based on race, excluding people from sports teams based on race, excluding children from school bursaries and educational opportunities based on race. There's no place for that type of racialist policies in 2026 South Africa. So that's also another place where major reforms are needed.
So my final question to you is, some critics argue that claims of persecution exaggerate the situation in South Africa. How do you respond to that criticism?
Well, if the claims are rooted in fact, I don't see why you should not be talking about real issues. The issue of farm murders is real. The issue of racially discriminatory laws is real. The issue of chants like kill the boer, kill the farmer being done by some of the most powerful politicians in this country is real. So I don't see the logic in not talking about an issue just because it makes some politicians uncomfortable and it makes the South African government look bad when it's rooted in truth. I think I'm much more of a fan of speaking uncomfortable truths than speaking comfortable lies, but that's maybe just me.
Okay. Mr. van Zyl, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You
Goodbye.
too. That was Ernest van Zyl, Head of Public Relations at AfriForum.
Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are. with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective. 6 decades strong, Channel Africa continues to inspire Africa and the world, proudly sharing
The African perspective.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
And well, you are listening to Channel Africa, the African perspective, where we look at the latest in news, current affairs, and sport. I'm Tracy Baumgart, standing in for Lulu Gaboo. The escalating crisis in the Middle East continues to raise concerns about regional stability, international law, and the prospects for peace as hostilities involving the United States, Israel, and Iran continue to unfold. And we will be speaking to Yatheen Soni, the MD of North Star Consulting, who is en route back to South Africa. And well, on today's hashtag Africa Update asks, a number of South Africans who arrived in the United States as refugees are now reportedly heading back home. Many people think the grass is greener on the other side, and we are asking, what would you do if you were able to go to another country? Would you? And what country would you choose to go to? You can share your thoughts on Channel Africa's social media platforms at Channel Africa 1 on X and Instagram, at Channel Africa on Facebook, or send us your comments and voice notes to our WhatsApp number +27 83 288 6684.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
The escalating crisis in the Middle East. Rather, a 2-day Southern African Development Community or SADC Council of Ministers meeting is currently underway in Pretoria, South Africa. The meeting has brought together ministers from across the SADC region to review progress on regional projects and programs, assess the implementation of decisions taken at the SADC summit and previous council meetings, and deliberate on key priorities aimed at strengthening regional integration and accelerating development within the bloc. Channel Africa's reporter Michael Mbewe is attending, and he now joins us to give us the latest. Hello, Michael. How are you? Michael, can you hear me? Okay, I think we'll take a break and then we'll come back to Michael.
Africa is changing and the world is paying attention. This March, Channel Africa invites you to be part of a new conversation. Africa Matters. A platform where experts, policymakers, and thought leaders come together to unpack the big issues of our time. Technology, politics, economics, climate change, and the future of our people. This is where ideas meet action, where change becomes opportunity, where Africa's voice takes its rightful place on the global stage. In March 2026, Channel Africa hosts Africa Climate Change Recovery Summit. Join the dialogue. Be part of the movement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Hi, Michael. We're coming back to you now. How is it going over there?
Tracy, thank you so much, and greetings to all listeners across the continent of Africa, but also beyond. Indeed, South Africa, in its capacity as interim chairperson of the Southern African Development Community Council of Ministers, is currently hosting the 2-day ordinary meeting of the SADC Council of Ministers here in Pretoria. So the meeting, which is now underway, has brought together regional ministers to review progress on SADC projects and programs assess the implementation of decisions taken at the SADC summit, the previous council meetings, and also to deliberate on key regional priorities aimed at deepening regional integration and accelerating development across the bloc. So the Minister of International Relations for South Africa, Ronald Lamola, is the one who opened the meeting with a speech. Of course, key points coming out from this opening remarks. He spoke about global and regional challenges, where he noted that the region is meeting at a time of increasing geopolitical and economic uncertainty marked by global tensions, by climate shocks, supply chain disruptions, and strategic competition in areas such as trade, technology, food security, and energy. He warned that global conflicts, including the war involving the United States, Israel, and Iran, could push up oil and fertilizer prices, Western food security, and strain public finances across the region. Another take also, Tracy, is the debt pressure in Africa, where he highlighted the severe debt burden facing African countries, noting that many nations spend more on servicing debt than on health or education. So this situation, he said, risks undermining development efforts and delaying recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But also important about regional cooperation, where he stressed that these challenges make regional cooperation more urgent. He urged member states to accelerate implementation of commitments under the SADC Vision 2050 agenda to build a peaceful, inclusive, and industrialized region that delivers sustainable economic well-being. Also, another take is the issues before the Council. The meeting will consider several important matters, including the organization's financial position and resource mobilization efforts, the operationalization of the SADC Regional Development Fund, and midterm review of the Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan, otherwise known as RISDP 2020 to 2030, and also opportunities in critical minerals, where he highlighted that the region's strategic mineral resources, noting that SADC countries hold large shares of global reserves of platinum group metals, cobalt, graphite, and copper, with global demand for this mineral expected to rise significantly. He said the region has an opportunity to accelerate industrialization and beneficiation rather than exporting raw materials, but also progress which remains a challenge. He acknowledged that progress in areas such as digital connectivity, regional infrastructure, energy generation, and renewable energy expansion. However, he said low intra-regional trade, food insecurity, and limited opportunities for young people remain also a major challenge. And then lastly, he called for a stronger implementation of the success of regional integration. We will depend not on adopting strategies, but on implementing them effectively. He urged member states to focus on high-impact initiatives and deliver tangible benefits such as jobs, food security, energy access, and economic opportunities for citizens across Southern Africa. He concluded by officially declaring the SADC Council of Ministers meeting open and wishing delegates productive deliberations. Indeed, Tracy, that's what is taking center stage from today and tomorrow. And this meeting precedes the meeting of head of state that is going to take place in August this year in eThekwini, KwaZulu-Natal, Durban. Tracy.
Michael, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a lovely show, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was Channel Africa reporter Michael Mbewe.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, I'm Tracy Bumgard, standing in for Lulu Gaboo for today. And we go now to the news desk for our latest news, sport, and business.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thanks, Tracy. Good afternoon. I'm Jolani Tulongwepe, making headlines. Executive Secretary of the Southern African Development Community, Elias Mahosi, has highlighted the importance of regional unity amid mounting global pressures. He made the remarks in his opening address at the SADC Council of Ministers meeting in Pretoria. The U.S. ambassador to South Africa, Leo Brent Bozal III, has backtracked and apologized about remarks he made about the Kill the Boer chant, and Chile's new far-right president Jose Antonio Cast has addressed thousands of supporters vowing to restore the country by tracking crime and improving finances. I will have details on these and other stories at 1 o'clock.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And we kick off with football news. The RB Leipzig chief business officer, Johan Plenge, says the club is excited to expand its football market as it prepares for its first ever post-season tour to South Africa. The Bundesliga outfit is set to face the Premier Soccer League giants, Mamelodi Sundowns, in a friendly match on the 29th of May at Lucas Muripe Stadium as part of their Rikaufela We Are Together tour. This will be Leipzig's third major international tour, following visit to the United States in 2024 and Brazil in 2025. Plenge explains that the club is not only looking to explore global football markets, but also to invest meaningfully in the countries they visit.
This shall not be a one-off, right? This is not a tour we are doing and then never coming back, but we really want to leave a footprint in the market. And leaving a footprint means, of course, infrastructure-wise, but also like touching the hearts of the football community. And this is what we have done last year in Sao Paulo. We did our tour there. We had a great match, but also we helped the football community in Bragança.
Plenge also highlighted the significance of hosting the match at Lucas Muripe Stadium, noting that the club wants to honor the legacy of late South African football legend Lucas Muripe.
For history and for what Lucas has achieved as a player with an international career and bringing South African football on a global scale to a lot of different countries. And for us, it's important not just to have a marketing tour, but really to have credible and trustworthy touch points, and appreciating one of the football legends is something that is an important signal for us also to send it to the football community.
On to cricket news. Afghanistan upcoming cricket series against Sri Lanka in the United Arab Emirates has been pushed back until the end of the year due to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The Afghanistan Cricket Board confirmed the bilateral series originally set to begin on the 13th of March in Sharjah and Dubai has been rescheduled to late 2026 because of flight and logistical challenges. The disruption follows regional airstrikes and drone incidents near Dubai International Airport, while other teams, including the West Indies, have also faced travel delays during the T20 World Cup. On to motor racing. Ferrari head to Shanghai this weekend, chasing their first Formula One victory since 2024, with Lewis Hamilton eyeing a maiden podium for the team. Mercedes remained favourites after George Russell and rookie Kimi Antonelli dominated in Melbourne, but Hamilton says Ferrari are right in the fight following their fourth place finish. The seven-time champion is the most successful driver in China with 6 wins, and with a sprint format offering extra points, Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur admits it will be a huge test of strategy and adaptability. We end with golf. PGA Tour CEO Brian Rollup says urgency remains in reshaping the tour's product, but insists the priority is getting the long-term vision right. Speaking at the TPC Sawgrass ahead of the Players' Championship, Rollup outlined plans to double signature events to 16, add the 4 majors, and introduce Tier 2 tournaments feeding into marquee weeks. He suggested an ideal calendar of 26 events between late January and early September. Rollup confirmed he has held around 70 conversations with players and continues to work closely with Tiger Woods and the Future Competitions Committee, with changes to be revealed gradually. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The Morning Switch Weekend with the Shy Guy.
I Show Speed, often called Speed, who is a popular American YouTuber and live streamer known for his high-energy personality, loud reactions, and unpredictable humor. He visited Ethiopia, and he was shocked what he found out, actually, when he got to Ethiopia. He got to find out that, they don't use the Gregorian calendar. That is, we are in 2026 right now. And he got to find out they are in 2018.
2018. Nah, you trolling me. It's 2026. No. It ain't 2026. Wait, hold on. Wait, we in the past? Yeah. Ronaldo is still in Real Madrid. Everything is in the past here.
Oh man, how shocked the Speed was. He went back in time.
Saturday and Sunday mornings belong to the Morning Switch. 3 to 6 a.m. Central African Time. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. Hydrocarbon company Energene says it will acquire Chevron's interests in 2 offshore Angola oil blocks for a base consideration of $260 million. This is the Mediterranean-focused gas producer follows through on its plan to build out a hub in West Africa. Energene has been ramping up spending to boost output amid geopolitical disruptions and assessing new merger and acquisition opportunities as it aims to expand its business. Energene will acquire Chevron's 31% operated interest in Block 14 and 15.5% non-operated interests in Block 14K offshore Angola. The International Relations Department says it has not received any formal complaint from the U.S. or its ambassador to South Africa, Brent Bozell, about Washington's concerns regarding land expropriation and broad-based black economic empowerment, BBEE. Bozell, who was commenting on another media platform, raised the issue of land expropriation and BBEE policies in South Africa. Bozell said the U.S. had not received any response from the South African government regarding its concerns. International Relations Director General Zane Dengo says no communication has come forth from the U.S.
On the 5 demands, we did not receive any official letter on the 5 demands. These demands have emerged out of negotiations on essentially a trade-related relationship between South Africa and the U.S. You will recall that there was the unilateral tariffs that were imposed and there was negotiations between South Africa and the U.S. These 5 demands emerged in discussions around that particular negotiations.
South African Western Cape Trade Agency, Westgrove, says it's made in the Cape program, which connects local businesses with international buyers, is expected to generate more than $3 million in trade for the program's local exporters over the next 5 years. The initiative has secured 13 signed trade deals since it was launched in 2023. And this year's edition, which was held in Cape Town, brought together more than 200 local businesses with around 30 international buyers operating in various industries, including manufacturing, design, film, and agri-processing. Westgrove Acting Chief Commercial and Trade Officer Christian George says that the program showcases the diversity of the city's local economy.
The Western Cape Province has what we call a Grow for Jobs strategy. Within that Grow for Jobs strategy, we have various priority focus areas. One of the priority focus areas is to triple exports come 2035. And the way we do that is through this Made in the Cape Hosted Buyers program, is where we bring buyers from around the world to the Western Cape and showcase to them what the Western Cape has to offer.
The South African Medical Association Trade Union, SAMATU, will today march to the union buildings in Pretoria to demand urgent action on the country's youth unemployment crisis. The COSATU affiliate says that the jobless rate for those aged 15 to 24 now exceeds 70%, describing it as a ticking time bomb, threatening national stability and growth. Dr. Talente Biela is the chairperson of the Samatu Junior Doctors Committee.
Samatu in the main, which is the trade union, represents doctors. But for the past 2 to 3, 4 years, if you're paying close attention to South Africa's current trajectory, you then understand there's been a pervasive problem of unemployed doctors in the country. But this year, the stats were a bit different, which then prompted us to call on to a march that is going to be national in nature, meaning it's not just about the representation of doctors, but the general youth population of the country.
The US has launched a new investigation into some of its biggest trading partners after the Supreme Court struck down a key part of President Donald Trump's tariffs policies last month. The Section 301 Unfair Trade Practices probe could lead to new levies against countries including China, the European Union, India, Japan, South Korea and Mexico by this summer. The probe could allow the US to impose import taxes on goods from any of the countries found to have engaged in unfair trade practices. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 394. In Botswana, it's at 13.25. Kenya, 128 shilling 394. And Zambia, 19 kwacha 404. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar 5 rubles 16. Russia, 79 rubles 5. India, 91 rupees 92. China, 6 yuan 87. And in South Africa, the dollar will cost you 16 rand 36 cents. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Gold is trading at $5,156 and platinum is at $2,166 per ounce. Brand crude oil is at $98.84 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Thabisolo Hoku.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa is changing, and the world is paying attention. This March, Channel Africa invites you to be part of a new conversation. Africa Matters, a platform where experts, policymakers, and thought leaders come together to unpack the big issues of our time: technology, politics, economics, climate change, and the future of our people. This is where ideas meet action, where change becomes opportunity, where Africa's voice takes its rightful place on the global stage. In March 2026, Channel Africa hosts Africa Climate Change Recovery Summit. Join the dialogue. Be part of the movement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
It is 12:43 Central African Time. I'm Tracy Bumgard, standing in for Lulu Gaboo. The escalating crisis in the Middle East continues to raise concerns about regional stability, international law, and the prospects for peace, as hostilities involving the United States, Israel, and Iran continue to unfold. Travel disruptions and safety concerns have affected citizens across Africa and families. And to give us an update on the situation in the Middle East, we are now joined on the line by Yatheen Soni, the MD of North Star Consulting, who is en route back to South Africa. Afternoon, Yatheen.
Good afternoon, Tracy. Thanks for having me.
Very, very good to have you back. So the last time we spoke to you, you were in Bahrain. You're currently now in Ryder, waiting to travel to Cairo. So tell us what has been taking place since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, Tracy, indeed, I'm in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, in the airport lounge, about to board a flight via Cairo to Johannesburg. So thankfully, hopefully, and fingers crossed, I'm touching down at OR Tambo tomorrow morning. After a 48-hour journey, I took a drive to Dammam, a train to Riyadh, got my visa at the border there in Saudi, and it's tiring, and I just now want to get home.
So how has the war been? I mean, the last time you were sending me video clips and all that of the sirens that were taking place. What is the impact of the war like currently in the Middle East?
So I've been in Riyadh now for a day and a half, and it's a totally different world out here. It's pretty peaceful. So Riyadh is pretty much inland, so away from the eastern front line, between at the Persian Gulf, across from Iran is where all the trouble is. Bahrain, the reason I made the move, eventually it's day 13 now. The Bahrain airspace is still closed to all commercial flights. There's very limited and careful repatriation, and possibly just only for diplomats, etc. But it's closed, and the safest route, based on my research, was to do this trip via Saudi and out moving westward. So you want to avoid then any links through even Dubai, Abu Dhabi, etc. So the popular options are through Ethiopia, through Kenya, or through Egypt. And it's exorbitantly priced. Unfortunately, I have to foot the bill for that. It's costing me like 20,000 Rand to get home. But I'm just pleased to be heading there. So the situation in Bahrain, that's, it's still, there's no way out except by road through Saudi Arabia for now.
And what are the authorities saying in the Middle East, in Egypt, and even South Africa?
Yeah, so all the GCC states are in an emergency readiness mode. There's continuous interception of missiles, so there is, and it's sporadic, right? So it's shelter in place. The authorities are pushing now for de-escalation to prevent an entire, regional collapse here. The authorities in Qatar, in Bahrain, you'll see there was a special call for a special another UN Security Council meeting. I think that was yesterday. They're calling for diplomacy and de-escalation, because for any, retaliation now from the neighbors would, in my view, I don't want to be, quoted, would just be the worst possible thing. Iran is obviously saying we're attacking US and Israeli assets that you're hosting. That's their stance, and Bahrain and Qatar and UAE and others are saying, can we just talk about this? We stop hitting civilian targets in the process here. So it's not so the authorities are saying, if you're there, shelter in place, stay put, or if you can get out, these are your routes out. DIRCO, from our side, is, I think, not equipped to handle this, to be honest. I'm pretty disappointed. But I will pick that up with DIRCO when I'm back. I don't want to slander them on this call.
That's a good choice. So with the oil prices starting to surge, and I mean, we're looking here in South Africa for the new month over 2 Rand a litre increase. Do you believe it is a chance for Africa and South Africa especially to step forward and take advantage of this?
Absolutely. The 2 Rand is, at 100, and it's hovering now between $96 and $100 a barrel. We saw spikes for a day of $118 a barrel. So that can be as much as 8 Rand a litre for South Africans. Let's put that in perspective. This is what the numbers will look like. But the government wouldn't do that in one hit. It will probably, if this continues, we can see maybe a 2 or 3 month tranche of 2 to 3 Rand a litre each and every month, or maybe subsidized through the levies, fuel levies, etc. And that puts the country then in deficit, but protects the poor, because this fuel price will hit transport cost and food costs. That's going to hit it hard. Yes, there's benefactors in this, by the way. Gold companies and Sasol will be doing well. But take that aside, there's an opportunity, and thanks for touching on it, is for us to, capitalize on what we're losing on the commodity side and make up for it in high-value services. Here's quick stats. 97% of the fleet that used to travel through the Strait of Hormuz, something like an average of 130 vessels, 140 vessels a day, only 4 have made it past in the last few days. So there's like a 98%, 1/5 of the world's oil is now being cut by 98%, right? We have seen 40% increase in fleet coming around the Cape of Good Hope, 40% up in this week. If we don't capitalize on that, then we're going to lose that business to Namibia or to Mauritius. We're already taking some of it. There's very simple service-based, revenue here to be made. For example, offshore services like crew changes doesn't require any fancy infrastructure or anything of the sort. You can just, ship out or helicopter food, crew changes, services of that nature. And if we are willing to also, allow some docking and some quick, repairs, for example, it's limitless. But the opportunity is there. It may or may not last. And if we look back and say we missed yet another opportunity, then it's our own doing as South Africa Inc.
So, Yatheen, I'm going to release you now to go and organize your flight and get on that plane and get out.
Lovely. We hope to see you and meet you in person soon. Thank you, Tracy.
Definitely. Thank you, Yatheen. And that was Yatheen Soni, the MD of North Star Consulting.
Africa Update on Channel Africa. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
It's time now to look and see what is going on the upside today. Hello, Tebogo.
Hello, Tracy. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Fantastic. Here's what's coming up on the upside this afternoon. We get into some mental health conversations, especially in the workplace. What happens if you know of a colleague that has mental health issues or is exhibiting signs of mental health issues? How do you identify them? How do you address it? We'll have a psychologist, a trauma specialist who'll be joining us on the line to help us navigate and better communicate with our colleagues at work. Because some people in our workspaces are suffering in silence, Tracy. We see it almost every single day. And then we'll be getting into conversation with a visual artist. She's a photographer. She recently won an award overseas. It's considered the Nobel Prize of Photography. Her name is Zanele Moholi. She is a visual activism photographer, and we'll be talking about the work that she has done and obviously the award that she has recently won. So all that is coming up, and beautiful music as always coming up on the upside.
Awesome.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, we continue as Africa Update. The legal team for Belaman Mugabe, son of the late former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe, and his co-accused Tobias Matonhodze, says they may plead guilty to some charges. This comes after they withdrew their bail application at the Alexandra Magistrates Court in South Africa on Wednesday. The pair face charges including attempted murder, defeating the ends of justice, unlawful possession of a firearm, and violations of the Immigration Act. Lerato Makola reports.
Belaman Mugabe and his co-accused Tobias Matonze entered the courtroom with their legs in chains. The pair appeared briefly at the Alexandra Magistrates Court. Mugabe and Matonze are accused of shooting and injuring an employee at the Mugabe residency in Hyde Park, Johannesburg in February. According to the state, they are in the country illegally. Their legal representatives, Nenhlanhla Mnguni.
Was brought to our attention by the prosecution that the status of our clients was, of course, that they were in the country illegally. We, of course, don't want to waste the court's time. We all understand the processes with regards to applying for bail and the fact that one of the averments you need to make is that you're not a flight risk. So at this point, we want to deal with the matter and its merits. I think everyone that was present at court saw that we postponed the matter for possible plea negotiations with the state and to try and deal with this matter with the seriousness that it deserves.
Mnguni says the accused could enter guilty pleas to some of the charges.
It is a possibility. You must remember that there are multiple charges and of course we need to take instructions on each and every one. And of course consider whether they intend doing that, failing which of course the matter can then proceed to trial. That's also a possibility. So it's still really early. But of course, in every matter, people do approach the state to see if a potential plea bargain or something to that extent can be arrived at. I think it is part of the Criminal Procedure Act, so it's been done before, so yeah.
The case has been transferred to the Regional Court for plea negotiations and is set for next week, Tuesday. Lerato Makula, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Former comrades and friends of the late Mosiuoa Terra Lekota, founder of South Africa's Congress of the People, have remembered him as an exceptional organizer. The memorial service took place on Wednesday at the Regina Mundi Catholic Church in Soweto. Ntebo Mokobo reports.
Mosiuoa Lekota's comrades and friends have spoken fondly of him as a brilliant organizer during the short time he spent in the United Democratic Front before his arrest in 1985, as Lisa Seftel explains.
Those who knew him at that time, I'm sure you can remember his indomitable spirit, the space between his teeth as he laughed out loud, his ability to bring people together, and his confidence that every day would bring us closer to freedom. Terra's time in the UDF was short, yet his impact was profound. In that period, we campaigned successfully against the tricameral parliament. We ran a UDF million signature campaign. But most importantly, we built organizations and alliances into a formidable front that made the country ungovernable and took apartheid down by the end of the decade.
His former protector, Steve Apane, described him as a father to him and to his children.
1999, 2000, 2001, 2002. Kiliwan, I was alone with the father. We seven abakaskolong, my kids. Some minutes in Tatalokota, Abaisa Skolong, from class to high school to university. What a father, what a brother. Banaba haya keba, keba rudisit, keba rutistel driver. It's my family now. Ntatelekota halwala, they were calling me. I went to hospital Romutlola. Awa hospital kaya. What a father.
ANC First Deputy Secretary General Nomvula Mokonyane says the party is grateful for Lekota's contribution to the struggle.
As we all will be going to Bloemfontein to lay his mortal remains to rest, may the death of Comrade Terra unite us, and may it make all of us to embrace what we normally say in the Lord's Prayer. And that's why we are proud and grateful that Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa has offered a special official funeral for a comrade and a veteran of our struggle, Comrade Terra Lekota, because
and former COPE Secretary General Lindol Shope said remaining incorruptible will be the greatest tribute to Lekota. She said Mosiuoa Lekota loved the people of South Africa and wanted a bright future for his country.
That report by Ntebo Mokobo. Well, we say goodbye from the Africa Update team, but continue listening to The Upside.
Absolutely. A big thank you to Tracy. Join her again tomorrow and the Africa Update team. Same time, same place. It's now time for The Upside from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central African time with me, Teboho Lekhuleni. But first, let's get the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Deborah. Good afternoon. I'm Jolani Tulo Ngwepe. Executive